I gave up on my life today. Or maybe yesterday, it doesn't matter. I quit my job, walked out of the office without saying a word to anyone. I didn't care about the consequences. I didn't care about anything. I had been working as a lawyer for a prestigious firm for the past 10 years. I had a nice apartment, a fancy car, and a lot of money, but I was miserable. I hated my job, my colleagues, and myself. I felt like a robot, doing the same thing every day without any passion or meaning. I was bored, lonely, and depressed. I needed a change. I needed to find myself. I needed to find happiness. So I booked a flight to Nepal, where I had heard of a remote monastery in the mountains that was famous for its spiritual teachings. I hoped to meet a wise monk who could show me the way to enlightenment. I arrived at the airport with nothing but a backpack and a passport. I took a taxi to the nearest town and then hired a guide to take me to the monastery. It was a long and arduous journey, but I didn't mind. I was looking forward to meeting the monk who would change my life. I reached the monastery after 3 days of hiking through the rugged terrain. I was exhausted, but also exhilarated. I felt like I had left behind my old life and entered a new world. The monastery was a simple stone building surrounded by snow-capped mountains. It looked ancient and serene. I knocked on the wooden door and waited. The door opened and a smiling face greeted me. It was a monk, dressed in a red robe and a shaved head. He had a kind and gentle expression, and his eyes sparkled with intelligence and joy. "Welcome, my friend," he said in fluent English. "I've been expecting you." "You have?" I asked, surprised. "Yes, I have. Everything happens for a reason. You are here because you are seeking something, and I am here to help you find it." He invited me inside and offered me some tea. He introduced himself as Lama Dorji, the head of the monastery. He told me that he had been living there for over 40 years, studying and teaching the ancient wisdom of Buddhism. He asked me about myself, and I told him my story. He listened attentively and nodded sympathetically. "I understand your situation," he said. "You are not alone. Many people in the modern world are unhappy and dissatisfied with their lives. They are trapped in a cycle of craving and suffering, chasing after things that do not bring them true happiness. They are ignorant of their true nature and potential." I looked at him with desperation in my eyes. "How do I find happiness?" I asked. He smiled and leaned back in his chair. "Happiness is not something you find," he said. "It's something you create." He picked up a pen and drew a circle on a piece of paper. "Imagine this is your mind," he said. "Inside this circle are your thoughts, feelings, and perceptions. Outside this circle are the events and circumstances of your life." He drew a line across the circle, dividing it into 2 halves. "Now, most people think that happiness depends on what happens outside their mind," he said. "They think that if they have more money, more success, more love, more whatever, they will be happy. But this is a mistake." He pointed to the lower half of the circle. "This is where most people live," he said. "They are constantly reacting to what happens outside their mind. They are attached to what they like and avoid what they don't like. They are ignorant of their true nature and potential. They are unhappy." He pointed to the upper half of the circle. "This is where you want to live," he said. "This is where you create your own happiness. You don't let what happens outside your mind affect your inner state of mind. You realize that happiness is not dependent on external circumstances, but on your inner state of mind. You cultivate a positive and peaceful mind, free from attachment, aversion, and ignorance. You discover your true nature, which is pure and luminous, beyond the illusions of the ego." He looked at me with a gentle smile. "Do you want to learn how to do that?" he asked. I nodded eagerly. "Very well. Then I will teach you. But you must be willing to follow my instructions and practice diligently. It will not be easy. It will require patience, perseverance, and courage. Are you ready?" I took a deep breath and said yes. "Good. Then let us begin." He led me to a small room where there was a cushion on the floor and a window overlooking the mountains. He told me to sit on the cushion and close my eyes. He said he would guide me through a meditation technique that would help me calm my mind and develop awareness and insight. I spent the next 2 weeks at the monastery learning and practicing with Lama Dorje. He taught me how to meditate, how to breathe, how to relax, how to focus, how to observe, how to question, how to understand. He also taught me how to live in the present moment, without dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. How to live with gratitude without taking anything for granted or complaining about anything. How to live with compassion without judging or harming anyone. How to live with joy without clinging or craving anything. He taught me many things, but he also made me think for myself. He did not impose his views on me, but encouraged me to discover my own truth. He did not give me answers, but asked me questions. He did not tell me what to do, but showed me by example. He was a wonderful teacher, and I was an eager learner. I felt a profound change in myself. I felt more calm, more clear, more confident. I felt more happy, more free, more alive. I felt like I had awakened from a long and bad dream. It was time for me to leave the monastery. I had learned a lot, but I also had a lot to apply in my everyday life. I wanted to share what I had experienced with others and to make a positive difference in the world. I packed my backpack and went to say goodbye to Lama Dorje. He was waiting for me in his room, smiling as usual. "Thank you, Lama Dorje," I said. "Thank you for everything. You have changed my life." "My pleasure, my friend," he said. "You have changed mine too. You have been a good student, a good friend, and a good disciple. I am proud of you." He hugged me and gave me a small gift. It was a book of his teachings with a handwritten dedication. "To my dear friend and disciple who came to me seeking happiness and found it within himself. May you always be happy and spread happiness wherever you go. With love and blessings, Lama Dorje." I was touched by his gesture and his words. I thanked him again and promised to keep in touch. He walked me to the door and waved goodbye. "Remember," he said, "happiness is not a destination but a way of traveling. Enjoy the journey." I nodded and smiled. I left the monastery with a new sense of purpose and direction. I left the monastery with happiness in my heart.